Online hatred does not stay online. What begins as algorithms, conspiracy theories, and digital propaganda eventually shapes elections, laws, violence, and real human lives. Welcome back to the Revolution Resolution. I'm Malaika. In the last episode, we talked about how algorithms and social media platforms are not neutral. How technologies built inside a society organized around hierarchy often learn to reinforce that hierarchy back to us. We talked about how insecurity, fear, outrage, and division become profitable online. And today, I want to take that conversation one step further. Because what happens online does not remain confined to screens. Digital propaganda now shapes political power itself. And understanding that is essential if we want to understand what American patriarchy looks like in the present moment. In Erased, I write about how American patriarchy survives by constantly reminding people where they belong inside the hierarchy and punishing those who threaten it. Social media has become one of the most powerful tools ever created for this process, not only because it spreads information quickly, but because it spreads emotion quickly. Fear, panic, rage, humiliation, belonging, and identity. And once people emotionally attach themselves to narratives online, those narratives begin shaping how they behave offline, too. Few people demonstrate this more clearly than Donald Trump. Trump understood early that social media gave him something traditional media could never fully offer: direct emotional access to millions of people simultaneously. Not only the ability to communicate, but the ability to provoke, inflame, repeat, and dominate attention constantly. And importantly, Trump did not invent American patriarchy. He mastered how to amplify it digitally. His rhetoric repeatedly centered fear of immigrants, fear of racial progress, fear of feminism, fear of changing gender norms, fear of LGBTQ plus visibility, fear of losing power, fear of no longer being at the top of the hierarchy. And social media allowed those fears to spread at enormous scale. What once might have remained isolated conspiracy theories or fringe extremist beliefs could now circulate continuously, finding vulnerable people faster than ever before. And this matters because conspiracy theories are rarely only about information. They are about identity, belonging, and emotional purpose. Take QAnon, for example. At its center is the belief that the world is controlled by hidden evil forces and that certain political figures are heroic protectors fighting to save the nation. But underneath the conspiracy itself are deeply patriarchal ideas about gender and power. Men are encouraged to imagine themselves as warriors, protectors, digital soldiers, defending civilization from contamination and decline. Women are encouraged to position themselves as guardians of children, morality, purity, and the home. In other words, even modern online extremism often reproduces very old patriarchal roles. And social media accelerates all of it. Repeated narratives become emotionally familiar. Fear becomes community. Outrage becomes belonging. And eventually, people stop seeing conspiracy theories as fringe fantasies. They begin organizing their lives around them. This is where online radicalization becomes especially dangerous because online hate does not stay online. We have now seen conspiracy theories and extremist rhetoric influence mass shootings, attacks on LGBTQ plus communities, anti-immigrant violence, book bans, anti-abortion legislation, voter suppression efforts, and even attacks on democracy itself. The January 6th attack on the United States Capitol did not emerge from nowhere. It emerged from years of repeated digital propaganda convincing people that violence was justified to preserve their vision of the nation. And importantly, the people drawn into these movements are often searching for something emotionally real: identity, certainty, community, purpose, recognition, and belonging. American patriarchy exploits those human needs. It offers people a sense of power and meaning by convincing them they are defending civilization itself. Extremist beliefs, once considered fringe, now influence legislation, school policy, healthcare access, voting rights, education, reproductive autonomy, and public safety itself. This is not separate from the larger story we've been tracing throughout this series. It is the modern evolution of it. American patriarchy is adapting technologically. So today, here are the questions I'm leaving you with. What fears are being amplified online into political movements? How can we start to think of the messages we will need to counter them? Digital spaces are never separate from the societies that create them. We'll talk more about this next time.